Hello, dear class. Thinking of you reading Othello, perhaps for the first time. And for those of you with no idea what this story is going to contain, you'll forgive me. I'm sitting here on my porch in front of my house, and immediately below me is a pet chipmunk of mine who likes to come and eat out of my hand. So I'll show you. He's about to arrive, and you will want to get some. Oh, no sign of him, alas. Oh, never mind. I'm going to. He usually likes to take these out of my hand, but I'm going to leave him to eat. So, thinking of you reading Othello, perhaps rereading it, hopefully reading it in the light of my suggestions in my previous email, I thought it would be important just to make reference to the fact that what we have in Shakespeare are remarkable stories, remarkable insights into psychology, which would make the plays interesting to anybody. But we don't prize Shakespeare for those things alone. And without the music, the beauty of the language and its music, I doubt whether people could be lured into the theatre, no matter how good the story. And those of you to whom the music of beautiful language appeals will either know this already or will be delighted to discover William Shakespeare. Those of you to whom the music of language means not very much, and perhaps even music itself not very much, I can hardly hope to win over by a brief reading, which I'm going to offer. I'm going to read Othello's defense of his winning away the daughter of a Venetian nobleman, Brabantio, who has complained to the Senate of Venice, who are in Othello's debt because he is their greatest general and their greatest warrior, and they are being threatened. Their colony, their possession, the island of Cyprus, is in danger of being captured by the Turks. And so they need him at this very hour more than ever. So they bring him into the council chamber and say, "What have you got to say?" Brabantio is saying, "You kidnapped his daughter." To which Othello says, a famous opening line, "Most potent, grave, and reverend signors, my very noble and approved good masters, that I have ta'en away this old man's daughter, it is most true. True, I have married her. The very head and front of my offending hath this extent no more. Rude am I in my speech," he lies, "and little blessed with the soft phrase of peace," he also lies. "For since these arms of mine had 7 years' pith, till now, some 9 moons wasted, they have used their dearest action in the tented field. And little of this great world can I speak more than pertains to feats of broil and battle. And therefore little shall I grace my cause in speaking for myself. Yet by your gracious patience I will a round, unvarnished tale deliver of my whole course of love. What drugs, what charms, what conjuration, and what mighty magic! For such proceeding am I charged withal. I won his daughter." So it's clear that people have said this black guy used magic to woo her away. She wouldn't of her own free will have gone to this Moorish general, this black general. So the racism, not merely an aspect of the play, but its very core, is present, of course, right from the start, and this illustrates it very well. So Othello's speech continues, "Her father loved me, oft invited me, still questioned me the story of my life, from year to year, the battles, sieges, fortunes that I have passed. I ran it through even from my boyish days to the very moment that he bade me tell it, wherein I spake of most disastrous chances, of moving accidents by flood and field, of hairbreadth escapes in the imminent deadly breach, of being taken by the insolent foe and sold to slavery, of my redemption thence and portents in my travels' history, wherein of Anta's vast caves, and deserts idle, rough quarries, rocks, and hills whose heads touch heaven, it was my hint to speak. Such was the process, and of the cannibals that each other eat, and the anthropophagi, similar basically, man-eating, and men whose heads do grow beneath their shoulders. This to hear would Desdemona seriously incline, but still the house affairs would draw her thence, whichever as she could with haste dispatch, she'd come again, and with a greedy ear devour up my discourse, which I observing took once a pliant hour, and found good means to draw from her a prayer of earnest heart that I would all my pilgrimage dilate, whereof by parcels she had something heard, but not intentively. I did consent, and often did beguile her of her tears. I teased some tears from her eyes, charmed tears from her eyes. When I did speak of some distressful stroke that my youth suffered, my story being done, she gave me for my pains a world of sighs. She swore, if faith, 'twas strange, 'twas passing strange, 'twas pitiful, 'twas wondrous pitiful. She wished she had not heard it, yet she wished that heaven had made her such a man. She thanked me, and bade me if I had a friend that loved her, I should but teach him how to tell my story, and that would woo her. Upon this hint I spake. She loved me for the dangers I had passed, and I loved her that she did pity them. This only is the witchcraft I have used. Here comes the lady, let her witness it. So in comes Desdemona, and indeed supports Othello's story, and we can see that as bitter as it is for Desdemona's father Brabantio to yield his one daughter, his beloved daughter, his only child, to a man that he greatly admired, but who, because of the color of his skin, was an unacceptable son-in-law. So you have there, in that particular aspect of the racism that the play shows you, something, I'm afraid, horribly modern. And it's interesting how Shakespeare, who may have known some black men and women, of whom there were not a few in the London of his time, understood how racism works, that such a man, a black man, could have everything that you have to offer except a man's daughter. So this is unchanged, I think. In many respects, you get many white people who are appalled to think that they might be accused of racism. They will assure you they have black friends. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's such a classic trope that white people are sure that there isn't a racist bone in their body. But ask them, if they're parents, whether they would surrender their precious daughter to a black husband, or even, God forbid, a black boyfriend. You'll see the whole complexion of the matter change, because it seems to attack something very deep in us all, this matter of skin color. It's an ancient issue, taking us back to the most primitive times where we identified our tribe, our kin, our like, by such things as skin color. It's very deep in all of us, and God forbid that we should pretend that it isn't in any of us. I had the good fortune to risk my life in the cause of black freedom in South Africa, and lost people who belonged to the freedom fighter unit that had recruited me. And having risked my life doesn't make me one jot freer of racism. It takes more than that. It takes an impossible quantity, I suspect. I had the good fortune that my father, when he first came to America, he was a young man, he was a young actor. He loved music, he loved jazz, he went up to Harlem, he heard black music, and he loved it. And he became very close friends with the most famous black musician of the time, Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong, as people insist on calling him now, although he always wanted to be called Louis, and nobody in his lifetime ever did. They called him Louis. And my father gave a celebrated performance in a musical comedy called My Fair Lady, for which Louis Armstrong booked a seat on every single night of the 3 years that the play ran, in case he should feel like going back and seeing it again. They were very dear friends. I was fortunate in that respect to have from my father the deepest possible permission to see skin color as irrelevant, and I think that has been a wonderful thing for me in my life. But nobody should declare themselves to be free of racism. We are all the creatures of our past, the past of our species, and we have to obey reason and not atavistic impulse. So, quick, Othello's parting speech, so beautiful. He's killed his wife, who he thought was unfaithful, and he says to those who arrive, "Soft you, a word or two before you go. I have done the state some service, and they know it. No more of that," which, by the way, is one of Shakespeare's favorite phrases. He uses it constantly throughout his plays. People have not noticed this, as far as I know. No more of that. I pray you in your letters, when you shall these unlucky deeds relate, speak of me as I am. Nothing extenuate, nor set down aught in malice. Then must you speak of one that loved not wisely, but too well, of one not easily jealous, but being wrought, perplexed in the extreme, of one whose hand, like the base Indian, threw away a pearl richer than all his tribe, of one whose subdued eyes, albeit unused to the melting mood, drop tears as fast as the Arabian trees their medicinal gum. I set you down this. Say beside that in Aleppo once, where a malignant and a turbaned Turk beat a Venetian, and traduced the state, I took by the throat the circumcised dog, and smote him thus. And with those words, Othello kills himself. No more of this. It occurs often in Shakespeare when somebody breaks off in extremities of emotion, and Shakespeare wants most naturalistically, most modernly, to indicate somebody choking back words. Something that is an intimate part, a spontaneous and informal, a truly modern part of Shakespeare's repertoire of how people speak at moments of great passion. No more of this. I love that that is a part of his arsenal of expressiveness. So hear the music, if you can, in his extraordinary speeches, Othello's wonderful speeches. I will spare you quoting other sections, but you'll see how forceful and magnificent they are. And I hope you can speak them aloud if needs be, or hear them, or go to YouTube and see some stretches of the play. Enjoy, my dears. Enjoy this beautiful weather, if it's as beautiful as mine is. And like my pet chipmunk there, who did arrive and eat his breakfast, gambol around, but safely, please, socially distanced, if you would. Thank you. Bye-bye, my dears.